What is up, everybody? I'm your Legendary Commander, and welcome back to Baldur's Gate 3. In this video, we're going to show you how to beat up on the Gnolls. The Gnolls are, in my opinion, kind of overpowered, and I'm only level 4, and these guys will wipe the floor with me a lot of times if I attack from the wrong position. And that's the first step, attacking from the right position. You want to be above the Gnolls. You don't want the Gnolls being above you, especially the range units. The range units can attack as many as 3 times I've seen. And normally, they don't miss me anyway, but it's even worse when they're up high because then they really don't miss. I will also add I have free extra first strike on here. However, I only managed to use it once with Will. Everybody else gets locked into initiative anyway, so they don't get the free extra first strike. So I don't think it takes much precedence here. However, this first strike does really help because the first thing I do is I shove them off the cliff. Now, at first, I'm on level ground with this one Gnoll, but if you actually pay attention, I'm above all the other Gnolls. However, I don't attack right away. The first thing I do is look at the Gnolls down there, because one of the Gnolls, as you can see, runs in and gets burned. These Gnolls cycle in and out and then eventually heal, which means if you time it just right, hitting the Gnoll up top will start the initiative with a creature that is wounded, and when they're in initiative, they can't auto-heal anymore. So essentially, I'm going to wait this out until I see a good opportunity where a good amount of damage is done, because fire doesn't always do max damage. I get lucky with the double 4 here, and then I wait a moment, seeing if he's going to take any more, but worried that I wasn't going to get any more opportunity, he was going to heal. I go and I target the enemy now, and I knock him off the side. By hitting the Gnoll in this way, he starts initiative with everyone, and everyone is surprised, except for my party, which means my party is going to get a few more attacks in. You might also notice that one of my characters, Inquisitor Norel, is not in the initiative. I tried to actually charge up, and I threw myself into initiative, so even this one ended up just being attacked before my turn, but would have still happened on the surprise round. Because she attacked so close to initiative, she's going to lose her action. Now, because I don't overbuild my characters to do insane amounts of damages, I'm going to have to fight this in a more traditional manner. Anytime you play D&D or Baldur's Gate, the system should go good AoE, range, mage, then melee. Melee only supersedes when it becomes an immediate threat. And if anyone is an immediate threat, can you deal with them before they take their action? If the answer is no, you go back to good AoE, range, mages, then melee. Of course, this also goes without putting yourself into great harm. If it looks like it's going to be a bad engagement, don't make the engagement. Either find a way to pick at them, or make it to where they're ineffective at fighting back. So we can actually go back now and we can look and we can see that the first thing I did was drop an AoE spell, which I targeted 3 creatures. This is a lot of damage to get out quickly early on, and it actually eliminated somebody right away. Now, I could have been unlucky and that Gnoll could have lived, but you can't work with what could happen. You need to work with what you know will happen, and good damage will come from a shatter on 3 creatures. Now, what you're going to notice at this point, I'm going to target my most immediate threat. And what I'm doing is I'm coming up the hill with my other characters, and I'm even staying at range with my melee characters. You don't want to just charge in with melee. You want to make the enemy come to you. Making the enemy come to you is going to make things better. So my range characters are firing, and I'm looking for the most percent chance I can get. In this case, I'm trying to find that high ground so I can actually get the extra percent chance to hopefully, successfully, kill this Gnoll. Now, of course, this doesn't work, but I know them to be major threats, so I have to try to remove these guys. The Gnoll's range units can attack as many as 3 times, and they can hurt really, really bad. One other thing that I suggest, which I did not follow suit in this battle, was to try not to bunch up, because they do have some acid arrows, and you don't want to get splashed by it. Keep all your guys away from each other so that way they don't get splashed, but you need to keep them close enough that they can help each other. Now, we are running through a surprise round, which you should always be aiming to get surprise rounds anytime you can get them, because they're always very helpful. We get to Inquisitor Norel's turn, and, well, unfortunately for her, she is incapable of really doing anything but moving. So what I do with her is essentially I'm going to put her as high up on the ground as I can, because I want to make sure the Gnolls don't get the high ground on me. Now, as I said earlier, don't put your guys so close together like I did. This is one of those moments where I get lucky and don't get punished for it. In fact, I think I got rewarded for it. However, this is something you should not rely on. So we'll see the closest enemies, especially the range units, have an ability to basically get up into combat and start fighting back immediately. Again, I get lucky here, but you'll notice that these range units and the close by melee units are the actual threat. You're going to start seeing in a moment, creatures are going to have to start dashing to reach me, and this is something you want to take advantage of. You want to always put yourself in a position where the enemy has to dash and waste their action. If they're running, they're not attacking, which is why you don't charge with melee characters. Instead, you hold at range, if not back up and attack at range, and wipe out their range, wipe out their mages, and let their melee run in after all the other stuff is gone. Now that it's my turn, I've got a few decisions to make. Do I try to make another AoE attack? I'm looking at health, and I'm trying to see if I can eliminate anybody. Elimination is important because we're already somewhat locked into melee. We're not going to be able to target much of their range anymore. The range is still very dangerous, but I need to decide what I'm going to kill. The melee creature, I've already made a decision that someone else is going to go ahead and kill them. Will is much more useful taking out multiple targets or targeting something further away, whereas someone like lei'zel or Karlach are better for close range. lei'zel is also in an optimal position to do a cleave. Her cleave in particular does extra d6 on top of everything, so this is getting some good AoE damage onto creatures. One was also acid burn, so the chances of him getting damaged were better. This is a time to get some good AoE damage. Now it becomes a decision of what you can remove, and it's time to use my action surge, and I decide I'm going to remove this hyena, because at least by removing the hyena, I know this thing will never do any more damage. lei'zel couldn't really do much else, she was kind of locked into this position. Now we're going to move on to Karlach, and she's going to engage the gnoll in front of Will. Doesn't have a lot of health, it is a little wasteful in the amount of damage she can do, but I don't even have her raging yet. And I'm just going to go ahead and remove this from the gene pool right now. That's an enemy that will never fight back again. And at this point, the only person's turn that would have been coming up would have been Inquisitor Narel's. Maybe Narel could have done something with it, but Karlach didn't have very many opportunities anyway, and what if Narel missed? Rather than letting Narel miss, I wanted to take an extra chance, an extra opportunity to make sure to secure that kill. Now we're back to Will, trying to figure out should I AoE them, or in this case, hit him with the Scorching Ray. Percentage chance suggests that this is not a bad option. Now, one gnoll is pretty weak, that's the one I want to try to kill, and then there's another gnoll here who is fairly strong. I know I'm not going to kill him, so I put 2 to 1, and then 1 on the other. The goal here was to injure one gnoll and then kill the other one that was weak. However, because one Scorching Ray missed, I left him alive with 1 HP. Now the next thing I'm doing is I'm taking Will, and I'm moving him as far away from the enemy as possible, because if they charge him, despite having probably the best AC of my party right now, if they charge him, I want them to run for as long as they have to. And in particular, another one is running, and look at this one. He was not going to get into range at all. Neither is this hyena, because of where I attacked from. They're kind of clustered up, they can't fight, I've bottlenecked them, and so they're running more than they really want to. It is now Narel's turn, and while I take a moment to actually determine who to kill, I target that gnoll with the ranged weapon that's almost dead, because by removing him, he'll never be effective again, and arguably he is probably one of the more dangerous creatures. When they go rapid fire triple shot, they can really mess a character up. Now you'll also notice that I moved Inquisitor Narel to higher ground, and that is to try to maintain the gnoll range units from having even equal ground if possible. You'll also see that the enemy charges me trying to get Narel, because they really seem to like Narel, and lei'zel is able to opportunity attack. By moving that far of a distance, it also allowed me to use a reaction, and an unused reaction is a wasted reaction. So if you know a character is being chased and you can get the character out, you should try to use those reactions as well, because you might get some extra damage. Now what you're looking at here, you might be a little confused on, and what I've done here is I'm actually eliminating a threat by not actually killing the enemy, but by pushing him back. If he has to dash to reach me again, he'll have wasted his turn. And that is far more important than necessarily just wiping somebody out. It did also help I have extra characters who can still remove these enemies from the gene pool, and that was the initial plan until I realized, what if I knock the big guy off the side? Both lei'zel and Karlach are very strong, I can push him off the side, that's going to do extra damage, and while I won't be able to kill him, he won't be able to fight back, which is because this guy is so strong, it is best to try to damage him and get rid of him as easily as possible. Up until now, I've relatively ignored this gnoll, and that's because it is so hard to remove this particular gnoll from the gene pool. The others are much easier to remove. Given their low health, you can pretty much dispatch them within a turn, whereas this one is so large that the only way to remove this one from the gene pool is either to defeat it or put it into a position where it can't take an action next turn. It is a strong enemy to deal with. It can paralyze characters, but because it hasn't had very many opportunities and all his allies were quickly dispatched, I still have a lot of health, so I can still tank some of that damage. I also did an additional 12 points of damage because the creature put itself in such a position. And now you can see I'm going to take lei'zel and still finish off this gnoll over here. Effectively, I've granted myself a free turn to deal with enemies next round because none of them are going to be able to fight back appropriately. You always want to waste the enemy's action economy as much as possible. And so again, we're going to move away as far as possible from the gnoll to try and hope that he can't move normally and has to dash. So now it's this one's turn, and we see it has to dash. This is the one we shoved off earlier. We've wasted its action with the dash, so it is essentially of no threat, and another character should be able to deal with it within the next turn. This hyena, because of the bottleneck, had to basically run around, so it also wastes its turn, which is great. Not so much planned with that one, but it definitely helps. And now we look at the enemies that we can deal with again. The ones that are having their turns come up that we can stop. Now, I know I can't stop that creature down there. I look, I think about it. But again, the ones that I can actually deal with are the hyena and the gnoll that are up here. What we're trying to do now is eliminate the gnoll before it gets a chance to take a turn. And by attacking it, hopefully Will also be freed up and able to help with the rest of the problems when the time comes. As we can see again, the other gnoll, the giant gnoll, basically can't take an action, runs right past, still wants my cleric for some reason, giving Karlach the ability to attack it, and I recklessly attack because I'm pretty much planning on killing that one soon as well. Now I'm going to use lei'zel to remove this hyena. There's no way I'm going to let this hyena even get an attack in. That's just damage that I shouldn't allow. I couldn't really help Will in this case, but there's still a chance at the moment that Will can help himself. My action at this point is already used, so trying to shove the gnoll off and repeat what I had just done previously sounds like a really good plan. Karlach still has her shove ability and her attack still, so there's always the opportunity that maybe I can kill this gnoll and wipe it out. Then we have a really easy fight because that other gnoll is a much lower level gnoll compared to the beefcake in front of me, and if I can just get rid of it, that would be great. It is always a bit of a gamble. I rage here, hoping that will do the job. I'm going to move up. I'm going to attack it while I have an opportunity, just in case, because we want to make sure we can wipe it out. And me being an idiot, I raged and lost my ability to shove. So now all I can hope to do is tank it with Karlach. The next thing is basically what Will has to do, and Will has to attack. That's about his only chance of getting rid of this gnoll and not taking any damage, because I'm aiming to not get myself hurt as much as I can. I can't shove it, unfortunately, and only tenacity hit the thing as I miss my attack. So thankfully, Will has the highest AC of my group, and he's going to have to tank it, and I'm pretty sure he doesn't take damage from this. Now it's back to Narelle's turn, and I had an epiphany. I was trying actually not to use any spells other than Will's spells, but rather than just take out one creature, I decided, what if I casted Sleep on both of them? By casting Sleep on both of them, at this such low health, neither one will be able to fight, and I can take advantage of those. So with one spell at the end of this battle, I removed everything from the battle. Will gets a 100% chance to hit. It's also an auto crit because he's using his Morningstar and the target's unconscious. And I'm going to get the same opportunity with the giant beefcake of a gnoll that's also sleeping. This match is over at this point, and I'd like you to take a look at the health and how I only use cantrips. I use my warlock spells because I get those back on a short rest. I used a single level 1 spell, and I used one long rest ability from Karlach, which is a Searing Smite. And while I'm going to pick a fight with these guys eventually, that is it for this video. I hope you enjoyed. I hope this video helps someone. If it didn't teach the fundamentals of D&D combat, hopefully at the very least, it taught you how to fight this fight in particular. I will argue a lot of it was positioning, but then after that, it's a variable of other things. And you just have to manage those things after getting a good position. And the best position is up on that hill from behind. But that's going to be it for this video. If you like this video, hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe. Make sure to tell your friends. But y'all take care. And I will catch you next time.